There we go. We are now recording. Okay, so like I just said to Kathy, we are going to do a little bit of Nat does not a lecture, but a little bit of a lecture. It's only like 1 or 2 paragraphs, but it's really smart, so I wanted to read it. So basically, she says, let's just take a moment while you're lying there in relaxing and letting go and getting yourself in the room. Let's talk very quickly about the 9 essentials, because we don't touch on them all the time. She said, I would like to remind you of a few things to make sure you get the most out of these wonderful transformative outcomes that could be possible in this class. For that, you need to remember the 9 essentials. The 9 essentials get your brain to wake up and begin forming new patterns very, very quickly. So that means patterns of the brain right alongside / patterns of the brain / new patterns of movement. So when you make new patterns of movement, you make new patterns in your brain. And in order for you to have a different experience, say as an example, a neck that moves differently, maybe with more flexibility, shoulders that have a greater range of movement, in order to get rid of pain, to get a more powerful movement in the arms or a more delicate movement in the arms, and more control of your brain, you actually need to create new patterns. So what are some of those essentials? We move very slowly. So that's number 2, slow. Number 1 is movement with attention. And that means we move paying close attention to the movement. What is it we're doing while we're doing said movement? The brain loves that. It starts changing immediately. And I've mentioned this before, I'll go off the little script for a second. When we pay attention like the baby does when they're awe-inspired of their hand, they're learning, they're taking in information. It's exactly the same as when you lift your right arm in the air, and instead of just sitting on your tush and not involving your spine, you just move it in the joint. That is an entirely different movement than when you lean over. If I'm taking my right arm up, if I shift my weight over slightly to the left buttock, open up the ribs on the right side, make the ribs on the left side smaller, and allow the arm to float up. But it's a different movement. But if I pay attention to different parts of my body while I'm doing that, that's what the brain sort of eats up, for lack of a better term. So you also, some of the other ones are you reduce the force, so subtle. It is very, very powerful to do things subtly. Remember to hold your goals loosely. So again, flexible goals. That means you don't try to reach very far before you are ready, really able to do that. And I'm going to say right away is some people often mistake, because we spend a lot of time talking about not going the full distance. They mistake that we're saying that you will never go the full distance, that we want you to do smaller, subtler movements. That is true, but as you've come to know, Kathy, in this class, and as you do this work more, you actually will do a farther, greater movement, bigger, actually bigger, not as subtle, but bigger movement, if you start each variation subtly. The option of getting there, getting bigger, is faster when you follow subtle. It's mostly because you start doing it skillfully versus just within power. It means you don't trick. Very good. This lesson is going to get you, or all the lessons are going to get you more skillful, so that when you go far, it's because you can go far, because it's easy for you. So we don't stretch, we don't pull, we don't force. Also, she would like to remind you of enthusiasm. Enthusiasm gets the brain's attention, and it gets it to amplify the important stuff. So that's an interesting statement. Enthusiasm sort of goes, what? What? Who? I'm in. Oh, if you're kind of happy and enthusiastic while you're trying something, and it amplifies all the little important portions of that specific movement. And so with all these small changes, if you get enthusiastic, they can become big changes. Now remember that as she has spoken before, we don't really have a neck per se. We see a neck because it is the part that comes out of the shoulders. It just sort of pops out of the torso. But what do we really have? We have one long spine. It starts at the tailbone. It is fused and it's sort of a bit of a triangle at that part, way, way, way low at the very bottom. And then it goes through the lower back, through the middle back, the shoulder blades, and then it just keeps on going right out of our body. And our head sits on top of that spine. So we are going to continue working so that your whole spine moves in such a way that your head can move very freely and your shoulders can work a whole lot better and less. And if you have any aches and pains, those will remove themselves as well. Now I'm going to add another area because of course she can't mention every body part. Every time she mentions a change, she can't say it's going to change this, it's going to change that. But you can imagine that if your neck is free, because the neck muscles don't have to work so hard because the whole spine is holding up the head, you can see that, of course, as she mentioned, it would free up the shoulders. And it would make the shoulder muscles softer and not so tight. So then they're probably can have a greater range of motion because they're not being held. But also the middle back and also the lower back into the sacrum and down in the SI joints and everything. If the whole thing is a team, it will move easier because there is no need for any part of the back to tighten because it's not working double time because something else is not working. So does that make sense? What I just said? Perfect. Good. Gonna have a little sip of water. So lie on your back with your legs straight. And we'll just take a few moments to scan the body. You've scanned often, and you were probably scanning a little bit while I was talking. So we're just going to make this. Scans become a little easier. They become faster to notice what's going on. You'll notice that. So feel the contact of your right heel and your left heel with the floor. And always also look for perceiving any differences that you may feel. Because really the key way of noticing, the key way, pardon me, of change is by perception of difference. It's really the only way the brain gets information is it feels differences. So go from your right heel all the way up your right lower leg. Feel the contact of the floor behind your right knee. Your right thigh. All the way up to the right hip joint and the bum. Include that big area. And then feel how your left leg is touching the floor. From the left heel up through the left lower leg, behind the left knee, the left thigh, and into the left hip joint / buttock. Now let's feel the length of the spine. So starting at the tailbone, work your way up to the middle of the back of your pelvis, which is your sacrum. They do kind of fuse together in that area, but if you can just imagine feeling them as individual vertebrae, because they started as individual vertebrae in our lives, and then go up through your lower back, the arched part that lifts off on a lot of people, not all, but then up through your middle back, between your shoulder blades through the vitality spot. Then the spot that we were talking about and have been for the last few weeks between the vitality spot and C7. Then from C7 up through the neck, what we call the neck, but it is really just the continuation of the rest of the spine. And right into the base of the head. Now I want you to take a moment to think of the vertebrae in the neck from C7 above. And I really want you to notice the areas in there and do like a vertebrae at a time. And of course, we don't know anatomy. Like you don't have to be a professor of anatomy to feel it. You may be a little bit off of what they look like, but just imagine it piece by piece in the neck. And as you're imagining those bones, let go of the surrounding neck muscle. This is the reason I wanted to do this lesson tonight with you, why I wanted to find it. Because we know, as when you are on your belly sometimes, that it's hard. You're way better at it. You used to almost lie on your nose, but now you're much more on your cheek. But just know, the front muscles, the neck, all the way around can all just let go. You're lying down. I would take, I'm adding all of this, but I would notice also your jaw. Let your gravity take your jaw. Let gravity take your tongue. Know that your tongue goes way down your neck and attaches to muscles in your chest. Let your cheek bones, everything in the front skeleton of the face, the eye sockets, the cheekbones, the back of the head, and then very quickly go down this whole spine. You can start at C7. Just make sure you make a connection between the two of them, because the spine that lives in the body is not different than the spine that lives outside the body. And go down and notice there are probably areas or parts of your spine that are clear and there for you. And then there are parts that are either not very clear, or even that you know that they're there, but you really don't feel them very well at all. You might be a little past that now. I would say that, there are for sure parts that are less than others, but I'd still say you could manufacture those parts in your brain pretty clearly.
Yeah.
But the parts that are kind of foggy are the parts that we want to bring back, to connect back to you and make sure that they participate as fully as the rest of you in everything that you do. Feel the ribs all the way around on the left and right side. Notice the sternum, the clavicles. Pay attention to the way you are breathing. What is participating right now in the movement of your breathing? And I really want you to notice that. Roll your head very gently, right and left, just to feel the quality of the movement of the head. This is not for distance, obviously, you know that. Feel whether it's smooth or bumpy, whether it is easy. If it is easier to move to one side, notice which one. It's a small movement. And now keep the head in the middle. Take your time, bend your knees, and put your feet standing. Keep your feet spread apart, roughly the width of your pelvis or whatever is comfortable for you, but they are definitely not together, as you know. I want you to interlace your fingers and put your hands behind your head, not your neck. Notice that the elbows might feel the elbows when they're out, and now feel what it's like to bring the elbows towards the ceiling. Is that easier for you or harder for you, or? Or just different?
Just different.
Just different. Okay, perfect. Very slowly, what I want you to do is keep the elbows towards the ceiling, and then with the help of the arms, no, I'm not going to say that. She shouldn't say that. If she ever hears me say that, she'll be like, how do you know? Gently lift the head with just notice it. Just go for it. Slightly and notice it, and then put it back down. Very good. So you're cradling your head, you bring your elbows closer together, and just lift the head and lower it. And notice, are we lifting the head without there being any resistance, or are we feeling resistance? Because whenever you have to force a movement, this is a big statement. Whenever you have to force a movement, it means that somewhere in your body you are forcing in the opposite direction. You are creating a force that pushes you in the opposite direction. So what you are looking to do is to remove the obstacles wherever they are in your body so that your head can lift freely rather than to having to yank it up against opposition. Now I'm noticing already, just from just doing it 5-6 times with the information I'm saying, that you're doing it better. Do you notice that?
Yep.
Beautiful. Okay, stop the movement, put the arms down, put the legs down, and rest for a few seconds. And notice, if just doing those 5 things, but with attention, with slow, listening to the learning that I'm giving you, taking the information in and making some changes, whether or not you are lying different, maybe even feeling a little more, touching a little bit more clearly, and if your breath is a little bit easier. And maybe there's even a different part of you that is breathing, not just the part that you notice.
My back does feel flatter to the floor.
Yeah, it's crazy, eh?
Yep.
Right in there. That's movement with the power of movement with attention and slow and learning. Because they go hand in hand. You learn because of slow and because of movement with attention. Now bend your knees, put your feet standing, and I would like you to cross your right knee over your left knee. So you actually cross the legs, the right over the left. If you have difficulty doing that, tell me, and then I won't go into it if you don't. Nope. Yeah, perfect, good. Just so you know, you could also cross the ankle at the knee. You don't have to go all the way across, okay? And now we've done something similar to this, but just stay with me, and it's totally fine if we have. Gently begin tilting your knees to the right and bring them back. Very small movement. Just start with a small movement, she says. And go a little to the right and come back. Don't go far. And as the knees move like that, you make the weight of the legs tilt it, even though it's going to the right, which kind of feels a little bit more like you might have to effort. Don't. Let go of the belly, yes, and allow the weight of the legs. Feel how your pelvis begins rolling to the right, which yours is beautifully. And then as you continue doing this movement, and maybe even going a little further, feel that the spine starts to twist. See if you can feel that. Notice whether you feel movement along your spine and how far up you feel movement along your spine. And let the knees go a little further and further as long as it's comfortable. She says this time she wants you to make sure to keep the left shoulder on the floor. Typically, you could roll it off, right? And roll right over. But she wants some differentiation because she wants another part of you to wake up and not just allow the whole torso to roll over. So notice whether you tilt the knees to the right, whether you start feeling that your chin is being pulled down a little bit, and if it is, in what direction and what trajectory. Be specific in your brain. Yours already is, but in many people, as you can imagine, if people just started this work, they would think I was out of my mind if I said their chin was going to come down. And now as you tilt your head, tilt knees to the right like that, begin turning your head to the right at the exact same time. Keep your eyes open and look with the eyes along the ceiling and towards the wall and come back. So I'm going to be really clear here, and you might want to look at me. Very nice. Very nice. I'll take my legs over here then. Even though they were kind of probably going, where was your head going when you first just tilted the legs? Was it going directly to the side, or was it going down a little bit?
Down a little bit.
Okay, perfect. This time, what she wants you to do is she doesn't want you to go backwards, because that would be dumb, but find a place on the ceiling where the head is comfortable, and then follow it more, not directly to the side, still in an angle, but not so much down. So you may end up looking at some point at that closet to the right of you. Does that make sense? So actually turn the head, but follow with the eyes. Very good. So, and I have a big hint for you. Look at what you're looking at. And it'll slow you down a little bit. But if there's a stain or a little tiny spider or something, you should know that on your ceiling. Because you're looking at the ceiling, you're looking at the wall, you're looking at how the wood changes. Very good. That's better. So coordinate or synchronize the movements of the head and the knees. So as the knees begin moving, the head begins rolling. And the eyes look along the ceiling and down the wall, it doesn't matter how far, and then come back. Then this time when you do it, Kathy, I want you to close, as you continue doing this, close your left eye.
My left eye.
Yep. Keep the right eye open. So you tilt the knees, you turn the head, and you only look out of your right eye. Feel that if that changes the movement in any way for you, make sure to breathe freely. Maybe you want to exhale as you tilt your legs to the left, or to the right, and your right eye looks. And then once you come back up from this one and come back up, look, 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 look as you come back up. Remember, the return is just as important. Now switch eyes. So close the right eye and continue looking out of your left eye, but still going to the right. So notice as you're doing that, you're looking out of your left eye, you actually might twist a little more. Did you notice that?
Yep.
Very good. Do that maybe 1 or 2 more times. Try to sort of, it doesn't have to be even with the amount of times you did it, but do it 1 more time out of your left eye. Look at how much your chest is sliding. And come back. Now, next time you do the movement, look out of both eyes. And feel whether the movement is a bit freer and a little bit more comfortable. And feel how much of your spine do you feel moving now as you tilt the knees, as you turn the head, and as you look out of both eyes. And now uncross the legs. Slowly, slowly, take your time. You've been in that position for a while. Straighten them slowly and rest for a moment. Of course, if you ever have any difficulty resting with the legs long, you can always rest with the feet standing. But if you can, lengthen the legs, because then you'll notice more changes in the body. Notice the contact with the floor. Feel if there are any more parts that are actually touching the floor more fully, more smoothly, more evenly. So it's not just about contact, it's the kindness of the contact. You and I last week had some parts sticking out that were making too much contact. You feel the difference between the right and left side. I'm having a bite of the chocolate bar. I'm just going to admit it to you because I didn't eat, and I'm a little bit sugar low. I did eat, that's not true, but not well. Bend your knees, put your feet standing. You're going to cross the left knee over the right knee. Again, do it in whatever way is comfortable for you. Also, just remember, just because you could cross over the right over the left doesn't mean it's going to be the same. Make sure your right foot is standing clearly, so it's not hard for you to hold the leg like that. Sorry, I shouldn't have eaten that. Chocolate's going down my throat. Make sure if your foot is not standing clearly, it'll make it difficult to stay like that. So to standing clearly means that the foot is close enough to your pelvis. And now very gently, first just begin tilting the knees to the left. Very little to begin with. Again, it's the second time, but it's a different side. You might have injuries. Also, it's good to notice if one side is quite different than the other. So don't presume, as I mentioned, that just because you did it one way, it's going to be exactly the same to the other side. Each time you tilt your knees, listen to the movement of the pelvis. Pay attention to it. You can always tell when people pay attention because I can tell in their eyes. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
The eyes get very still. They start to blink. They're thinking. Feel whether you are, oh, sorry, I don't want to jump ahead. Pay attention to the spine. Notice whether you feel movement in what vertebrae. Feel whether you are stiffening, like you're lifting up the chest, or whether you can just let the chest be free. Listen to whether your chin is coming down a little closer to your chest when you tilt the knees. And then when you bring them back up, the chin moves back away from the chest. So the force can travel up through the spine. That means your chronic contractions that you had when you first started doing this work and all the efforts that come with that are starting to dissipate. And now next time you tilt the knees, turn the head to the left at the same time, at the same rate, at the same amount of the legs, looking at, using your eyes. That means you don't move the head without the knees, you don't move the knees without the head. Making sure the right shoulder stays on the floor. If you do hit the wall, go down it a little bit. Look to keep the eyes moving, not ahead, not in front. So the eyes don't keep going, but the head stops. Does that make sense too? So
Yeah.
Everything is in unison. So that means if the eyes can, or I'm just picking that, if the eyes can only go so far, that's as far as everything goes. Real smooth. You're trying to do this as smoothly as possible. For most people, notice that the eyes can jump. It takes a little while to learn how to just to really go smooth with the eyes, and a huge hint is to look at it, not just pretend to look at it. Next time you do the movement, close your right eye. As you turn to the left and look out of your left eye. And of course, the knees go tilting, the head goes tilting. Listen to the breathing. Make sure that you're breathing. Perhaps breathe out when you tilt the knees so you can soften the chest. And the next time when you get back up, don't rush. Next time you go, I want you to switch eyes. So you're going to close the left eye and look out of the right eye. You know what, Kathy? I'm sorry. Take off your glasses, please. Sorry about that. It just become part of you and my frame of your face. Switch eyes and keep doing the looking. Even if you can't see as clearly, make sure you're still looking. Are your eyes closed or are they open?
My right eye's open.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I was like, why does it look like her eyes are closed? Because one of them is, Leanne. Thank you. Keep going. And even if you can't see as clearly, really try to, don't strain, just notice. And now, so remember, she says notice. Do it with both eyes now. Open up both eyes. There we go. Head, everything's the same speed. Feel if the knees are tilting further. Now that you're back to two eyes. Not harder, you're not stretching, you're actually becoming more skillful. Your brain is figuring out how to do this. You don't have to work against yourself anymore, but you figured out how to work harmoniously all the way through. It's lovely. Slowly bring the knees back from wherever they are. Slowly uncross them, straighten them, and rest for a moment. And of course, pay attention to any changes. That is mental work that we do all the time as we do these movement lessons. We apply our thinking, our intelligence, our feeling to empower our bodies. So feel anything that's different, either in the contact with the floor, or your breathing, or even the feeling of self. Maybe you're even starting to feel a little better. Maybe you're even starting to like yourself or feel like, oh, look at me. I can I can do this stuff I couldn't do it before. It's called enthusiasm, self-love. Now, I've written to beside this, please make this paragraph your own. So she's obviously, maybe she stuttered a little bit while she was talking, or maybe the person writing it down didn't write it down. But I'm just going to say it, and then let's just follow along for a second. Bend your knees, put your feet standing, cross your right knee over the left. Now you're going to take your left arm and you're going to put it in front of your chest, across, so it's lying on the ribs to the side. And I will help you with this. So it's kind of like this. Yeah. So you were exactly right. It's lying on your ribs, yeah. Make sure you don't like yank it. Just be subtle with it. Because trust me, you're going to be moving it in that direction. So you don't want it to be at its most to begin with. And you're going to grab a hold of with your right hand. This is where it gets difficult. She always says the hand that she's great. Take your right hand and grab a hold of your left wrist or your left elbow, whatever is more comfortable for you. I don't like pulling at the wrist. So I always grab the forearm or the elbow, but some people adore it. It gives a really good hook. You know, those little bones in the wrist. So whatever when I say wrist or elbow, just, you know, she said, don't cross the arms though. That's the only thing. So maybe don't go as far as that. Maybe just go here, the forearm. Because she doesn't like the arms crossed, because then it gets confusing on which arm is actually going to be doing the work.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, so you don't do what Lucia did, is what she just said.
Okay, Lucia, I'm not gonna.
Come on, Lucia. God. Okay. So she says so you want to bring the arm in front, and either you catch the wrist, you hold the wrist, or simply hold at the middle of the forearm. Whatever is comfortable. I don't know what Lucia did, but whatever. Or the wrist, or from the wrist or above. And now what you're going to do is you're going to tilt your knees like you did a minute ago to the right, and you're going to turn your head to the right, and you're going to look to the right with your eyes, and you are going to pull very gently on your left arm, lengthening it a little bit. You are not going to be rolling onto your side. So the arm is not going to stay here. Just look at me for a second. The arm is going to move in space. It's not going to stay here and you're just going to roll over to the left side as a piece. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So let me just get back to where I was. Left arm is going to be moving, lengthening a little bit, but you are not going to roll onto your side. You are still lying on your back. So she says, go ahead and give it a try. So turn everything and take the arm across. She says to this student, she said, I wrote to myself, you don't have to do this as everyone stays on their back. But I'm going to read this just in case. And make sure to come back. Just keep going back and forth. She says, you tilt the knees. You don't forget to tilt the knees. It's not just the arms. Blah, 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 blah. You turn the head, pull in the arm. But look to do it in such a way that you're not actually rolling to your right side. So I think what she's saying is, it's like I said, it's not one unit, because she actually said that in a second. She's going to say, see, when you roll like that as one unit, then you stop the twist. This is a twisting lesson.
Okay.
So she says, when you roll like one unit, there is actually no movement in the spine. So the idea why you don't hold it, and that's why she was saying why you don't hold it over here, is because that will make it more of a tilting like this. She wants it like that. You still stay on the back.
Okay.
You don't go all the way over here, because if you go all the way over here, you notice there's no twist in the spine.
Okay.
Spine is still a.
So you still are twisting.
She just keeps saying, "Stay on your back, stay on your back." She says it about 7,000 times. Don't do what Lucia did.
How do I stay on my back?
It's hard because you want to do this.
Right.
But I think the reason we want to do that is because we normally don't differentiate the spine enough. So
Does the arm go across though?
it does. The arm is its own entity and it's twisting the spine. See, watch me here. So I'm doing it sitting up. Pretend that my hand is here. She
Okay.
wants that versus that. This is
Okay.
the floor. I'm doing it facing you so you can maybe see. So this is the floor. That is not going to work. She wants this goes down and this goes with, and then come back.
Okay. So how about if I do it the other way so you can see me a bit?
Okay, try it just once the other way. That would be, yes, I would stop about a third before. So it's more twist. Keep that, don't keep the shoulder on the floor. It can't be, even when it's lifted. Like but make sure it doesn't like turn right away from it like this. It still stays like that.
Like
It needs to be differentiated right in here. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah, the clavicles.
like that. I'm not going
Yes.
like
Not
I'm
going like this, going like
this.
It's right in here that it really needs to.
Okay.
And in here. But yeah, okay. Go back to that side. So she says the shoulder blade does lift a little bit, but not completely off the floor.
Mm.
So you really don't roll to the side at all. You won't go that far. So you're probably going to have to limit your legs. Do you know what I mean? Because your legs and lower spine are all warmed up and lubed up,
Yeah.
but the head still comes. And then after you've done it one more time, just uncross. It will come as we do it too. And it's already coming. It's already totally different than what you were doing. And uncross your legs and rest for a moment. And this is what is so cool about this work. Even when you don't do it exactly 100%, the fact that we were talking, that we were discussing, that you were trying different things, that's what the brain eats up. It's kind of irrelevant whether or not you did it exactly right. It really is. Because lay your legs down and your arms down and see if there's any differences. Because what will start to happen is sort of like the vitality spot up to C7 starts getting more involved. And I shouldn't even say up to C7. I should say the vitality spot to the top of the head. But it really is. It's these ribs up in here. And in here, I always say I wish I could pop the arm off because there are ribs. Rib 2, rib 3 is all right in here. It goes around, but it doesn't go through the shoulder. It goes like it goes like around here. And those are the ones that we have like zero, like we haven't moved those babies and like until I started this work. Even when my arms were up because it was here.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Now somehow, no, that's okay. Now bend your knees, put your feet standing, cross the left leg over the right. Do the whole thing in the opposite direction. So you begin tilting the knees to the left, turning the head to the left, pulling the arm to the left, looking with the eyes to the left.
Okay, but I gotta put my right leg over.
Yep. And the right leg and arm come over. And that's far enough. No, wait. Your left leg is crossed over your right. Yeah. There we go. It's the awkward way.
Oh, well, but then they gotta go that way, don't
No,
they?
see, that's the thing. They still go this way.
Oh, okay.
Yep. That's why I say it's the awkward way. I hated that because the reason we like going the opposite way is because we like the weights to stop us from rolling. When the leg is going, okay, so if your leg went towards the closet right now,
Yeah.
you don't have to, you can pull the arm towards me, the knees can go to the closet, and you'll get a turn and a twist, but only so far up. So if you take it all, but keep it, just keep going the other way. So your right leg is, your left leg is crossed over your right. You're tilting the legs to the left. You're bringing the head to the left, pulling the arm to the left, looking the eyes to the left. And the other thing is a lot of people start to do, and I put myself in this category, I started to really use my abdomen muscles to hold myself so I didn't roll. Now that works well. Tighten your gut, that'll help. Turn the head. It's a weird one. She says, do a small enough movement with the knee so that you do not topple over. And you have a bit of a chance to pull on the shoulder and ribs a little gently. It's more the ribs, but she can't say ribs right now because people don't know what the hell she's talking about. So did you know what I mean when she says do less with the legs, and then you don't have to hold the gut? Feel what it does to the ribs on the right side and what happens to the ribs on the left side. Remember to turn your head. Look with your eyes to the left. Make sure you go slow enough that your eyes can take in. Duck, 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 duck. That's better. You see the difference?
Yep.
Okay. And now she says you're tilting your legs to the left. Everything's going to the left. But now, moving ahead, she would like you to turn your head to the right and look to the right. So everything is going to the left except your head. You pull on the arm, the knees go to the left, you pull on the arm to the left, but you turn your head and your eyes to the right, and it comes all the way back. It's in sync. So it doesn't go head and then legs. There you go. Keep looking with the eyes. Do that just once or twice. Beautiful. Do you see how you're going to wake up those upper ribs now?
Yep.
And now take a break. Just even if you can straighten your legs if you'd like. So now we're doing something different. This is where it starts to get fun. Bend your knees, put your feet standing. Really follow the directions. Don't presume that I'm just going to do the opposite because she doesn't.
Okay.
You're going to cross your right knee over your left. Then you're going to use your left hand to get a hold of your right wrist or right elbow. So the right arm is going to come across. Bring that, there you go, very good. And you're going to tilt your knees to the right. You're going to be turning your head and your eyes to the right, but you're going to be pulling your arm to the left. So now your arm's going to do something different. Very nice. Start with a small movement and feel how can you free those ribs so that your knees tilt to the right as your head turns to the right. Your arm and your right shoulder can move, that can detach a little bit from the floor, a little bit, so you can lengthen the arm to the left. Nice. So you have to actually reduce the force. You have to actually get more mobility, more freedom in the rib cage and in your sternum and in your clavicles. It's lovely, lovely. You're doing a great job. And now I want you to switch both the legs and the arms. That means you cross your left knee over your right knee, and you get a hold of, with your right hand, your left wrist or forearm. Whatever is comfortable for you. Then you're going to tilt your knees to the left. You're going to turn the head and look with your eyes to the left, and you're going to pull the left arm to the right. There we go. Very nice. Very gentle. Give yourself the opportunity to wake up the ribs this way, to wake up the mobility of this way. It's marvelous. Very good. Now stay like that. Leave this alone. Only put your arms down. Just your arms down. Stay with the knees crossed like that. And now simply tilt your knees to the left and see whether your legs are tilting easier. Whether you can feel more of your chin, more of your spine, more perhaps your whole spine. Feel that it's getting easier. You're putting in less force and you're actually going farther. Isn't that marvelous?
Hmm?
Change over the crossing of your legs. Remember when you came to me and you had like messed up lower back sciatic glute?
Yep.
Yeah. Would you be doing this?
Nope.
Yeah. Very good. Turn your legs to the, tilt, there's the word, to the right. And see the freedom. How much of your spine? Take your time. Feel whether also to this side the pelvis rolls easier, the knees tilt more of the spine, more of the ribs. All of a sudden your body knows what to do. In other words, your brain knows how to organize your body, how to be skillful at this movement. And you get enormous benefit out of that from a brain capacity, and you also get a bigger functional movement. So yes, it's easier and you go farther. That's fantastic. And that's enough for a lot of people. Remember when I said earlier in the lesson, you start small. Doesn't mean that we all just do small for the rest of our lives. It means you get to this bigger movement easier, but it's also doing incredible benefit for your brain. This is how babies get real smart real fast and learn the amount that they learn in a short period of time. It's not because their brain is new. It's because their brain is listening to their movement and learning from it. We are a movement-based learning creature. Now uncross the legs, put your feet standing. Interlace your fingers, place them behind your head, and simply, with the elbows towards the ceiling, simply lift and lower the head. And you can put the elbows down when it comes back down if you want. You can lower the elbows down right now, right to there, or you can leave them up, whatever's easiest. But feel if your head lifts a little easier and further now. Because your ribs, look at your head, is almost perpendicular. Feel whether your sternum is starting to slide down. So you're not working against yourself anymore. It's simple. It's simply that disruption, or at least some of the disruption or the disturbance and the contraction, has left you. Beautiful. Put your arms down, lengthen your legs, and rest. Slowly with the arms. And feel how you are lying now. The contact with the floor you have now. The way you are breathing now. Roll your head a little to the right and to the left and feel how your head is rolling now. Are any of those bumpity bumps that you would have sworn is your actual bone of your skull gone? I swore I had a huge bump on the back of my head. I was just like, that's just the shape of my head. And don't get me wrong, we have bumps in our head, but when our spine is moving clearly, it's a majority of the bumps in the back of our head is actually our spine just going, Feel the chin, when you roll? Is it moving a little more towards your shoulder rather than straight out? Yes, that means your neck is not as short as it was before. You have a long back of the neck. Beautiful. The muscles in the back and in the neck have let go, and now you can have a long spine and a long neck. Now, all you're going to do is you're going to stop that. You're going to slowly roll to your side, sit up and stand up. Take your time to do it. Notice all that beautiful twist we figured out how to do, how that could incorporate in a real easy movement of just combining onto one side. Yes. My God. I need to put that in a testimonial. Actually, I did record it. I'd obviously ask and tell you if I did things like that. Take your time. See if getting up, if lifting the tush up, if there's more turn in the spine. Like, see if there's more of a ball of you. Yes. Beautiful. And then just come to standing and don't, be just calm in standing. Fix any wedgie you might have, but other than that, leave it alone. And in standing, what does it feel like standing up? How does the head, how the head now is carried on top of your spine? Weird sentence, that's okay. How does the head feel? Does it perhaps feel a little lighter? Do you feel taller? Do you actually now know what it means that the head can feel lighter? The more we are on our skeleton, the lighter it is to move, the less power and force we need to have in our muscles in order to move, which means also the more flexible we are. So when you are like this with your head tall and at the top of your spine, simply turn your shoulders and your head to look to the right and then look to the left. Notice how much easier that is. And so now instead of tilting the knees, let the whole length of the back turn, almost like a dog or a cat will turn. Just do it very freely. Only human beings were taught themselves how to turn only in the neck. If you call a dog, 3/4 of their spine turns around if their legs stay front. And now walk around just a little right in the area and notice if you're lighter on your feet, whether your hip joints are freer, even though we didn't work on the hip joints. But when your organization or when part of your body gets better, the whole body gets better. You don't just get better in one spot. That was really cool. How do you feel?
Well, I definitely feel taller.
Good.
I
Yeah.
feel more stacked.
Perfect.
My head feels more back.
Yeah.
Like
longer
back,
in the back, like back, literally back, sitting. Yeah. Instead of jutted forward. A lot of us jut forward because we're pulled in here. And so that takes this back. So we have to jut forward in order to balance. So when this is allowed to drop, look at what happens to my chin. Look at the back of my neck.
Yeah.
And then there's a freedom because nothing is jutting. There's no force happening. I'm just balanced.
Yeah.
And that is really true. Think of a picture of a dog. Like they would turn, I don't even know how they do it. They would turn from like here. Whoop. They look back at you like, pardon? And they're like, because their availability of their spine. And their spine goes, that's why their tail is involved. Their spine goes into part of their tail. A horse, I didn't know this until last year. Have you ever grabbed a horse's tail at its base and like a good 6 inches away? Still spine.
Yeah.
Spine. In the floppy tail part. Bony spine. I had no idea. So that's why they use it all. That's why they walk like when they move, because it's still part of their back.
Yeah.
We're the only animal that would literally do this. Right? And I can't see you.
Yeah.
So then we force it and pull it and stretch it instead of that, using even more of it. But the reason we don't get this is because this isn't allowed, because the belly isn't allowed to round. As soon as this is pulled in, it rigidifies my spine. I can't do that. And that's what you were doing in poop loads when you were doing that.
Yeah.
And isn't it interesting how we always want to go the direction of the cross? I
Yeah.
remember the first time doing this, and I was like, oh my God, we're going with? Like, I have to tighten. No, you don't. You just have to let go. Yeah, very interesting.
Well,
Very nice lesson.
I'll tell you when I was coming home after my last intensive,
Yes.
when I'm sitting in my car, I'm always thinking, okay, get your head back on the headrest, like, why are you sitting forward?
Forward of it, yes.
Yeah. So anyways, as I was driving home, I'm thinking, my head is resting on the headrest. I'm not pushing it there. And
I'm not, yes.
And it's comfortable there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Now, here's the problem. Just be aware when you go into another car, because you might have a great headrest. A lot of the new headrests, I'm not joking, they're pointed this way.
Yeah.
This is the steering wheel, and they're like this.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. And it's not down. It's not like they're like this. They're right in the middle of the head, like that. I have no idea what's going on there. And so people are literally, because they don't want it bang, like they don't feel a flat, they feel a poke. So they're doing this. So you've got a good headrest. But yes, when the back is long and you've got a great headrest in the right spot, it's perfect because it just goes up against it. You don't have to, like you said, find it.
Yeah.
Or God forbid. Actually, this would be better to find it than this. Where is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Kathy, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Nope.
I was just going to say, please, I apologize if you've done this already and I'm just behind because, it's a lot. I've got a lot going on. Have you written a testimonial?
No, I have not.
Okay. We are kind of, we have absolutely noticed. We've kind of started, we learned during COVID, we took our time in COVID to try to improve we actually said today, we're not 1,000% completely ready to say this clearly, but we're actually thinking it might have been a profitable thing for us to shut down because we had to revamp and we had to think a lot about what we were doing business-wise. And we had time to have a freaking conversation and brainstorm and make puzzle pieces and then call the people that we need, whatever. We know with 100% clarity because of the databases behind a Facebook page, everything that we do, our website, everything, testimonials are a given. We can do the most charming video in the world with Callum and it can get 1,000 likes and people share it and love it and have beautiful, warm, fuzzy comments, but nobody call.
Yeah.
We do a testimonial and especially with a picture or an x-ray or something and it's like bing, 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 bing. It's unbelievable. It's like we talked to a marketing person today and she said, and I've talked to her in the past and she has said two things. One, she said, I can't believe the length of time people will listen to you talk because most people's videos, if they're like 9 minutes, people won't even turn it on. And if they do it for about 6 seconds. Now, in fairness, a majority of those videos are special needs videos. And I said, it has nothing to do with me. Special needs parents, I'll watch a 45-minute video and I won't skip over because I might miss the 1 minute.
Yep.
It's going to change my child's life, right? So the other thing though is, so we know that the videos are, but we also know that with 100% in terms of marketing return, it's testimonial.
Okay.
It's not us talking, it's somebody else saying, oh my God, this works.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, we're going to do a video one with Marnie, which is going to be interesting because I have no idea what she's going to say. And you know what I mean by that.
Yeah. Yeah.
She might start talking about God, and we're just going to have to put it up. And that's fine. Nothing wrong with God. That's how she's, but I'd like it
Yeah.
to be more about self. But
Yeah.
But if I could get something written from you, doesn't have to be long, 4 sentences. Because if it's any longer, people don't read it.
Yeah.
That's not true. I can cut and paste it too, like, put the ellipse, the 3 dots, and then.
Yeah.
But Katerina is also going to do one when she gets back. She's going to do a video one because she's like, my life, it's like a totally different life.
Yeah.
So I may even bother you for a testimonial one if you're remotely comfortable with that. It's like 2 minutes, and I totally lead it. In fact, it might be hard to get a word in edgewise. I'm just kidding, but well, for sure, like even how you're sitting right now, just sitting comfortably with the other foot isn't out here because of that. It's just tucked away, soft. Like people just can't do this.
Yep.
So if you could write a little something, because Katerina's will be next week. Marnie's may or may not work, and we may need some editing and some time. But we're just finding if we do 2 a week, 1 or 2 a week, that's what keeps this going. And then we'll be able to do the classes because there'll be other people coming for intensives and then moving on to the classes.
Okay. Sure.
I really appreciate it. And if you're uncomfortable, you do not have to put your name.
Yeah.
It is more potent when it's not anonymous because then people just go, you just made it up. And I mean, people are just gonna have to take my word that I'm just not gonna do that. But
yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't have to be 3 or 4 sentences. It can be a paragraph. It doesn't matter. But I would appreciate talk just from a standpoint of trying to get this group class going, that you do talk about the fact that you did it full intensive, and then you keep doing the group classes as well as the occasional lesson to like actually just the actual map of what you're doing too, not just I really like move therapies, because then people are going to be like,
yeah,
that's great, what the hell do you do there, right? And something to the effect of that you do this because this is what you've chosen because it's helped you the most and you want to continue, and just like a diet or just kind of like teaching.
Yep.
Yeah, because you are. It's exactly what you're doing with it. You're trying to make somebody go, because the reason I'm insisting upon it now with people, or not insisting, but begging, is because I had a gentleman today phone me and say, I've seen this, I've seen it, I've wanted to call you a million times. It was somebody's testimonial last week on Friday that he said, I put it in my calendar, 8 a.m. Monday morning to phone you, and he said, I didn't even get that far. Sunday night, I typed it out and sent it to you.
Yeah.
So you're helping somebody, you're helping us, of course, but you're directly, like I put on a frozen shoulder testimonial and I got 7 emails with the subject header frozen shoulder. It's that obvious.
Yeah.
So I'd appreciate it. And someone out there, in fact, Lynn got to meet a person last week, my friend Lynn, or my others, Lynn, that's been in these groups. They passed each other. And I said, hey, this is Lynn, to Nancy, and Nancy was like, almost started to cry, Lynn, you changed my life. And then Lynn was like, what's going on? I said, Lynn, she came because of your testimonial.
Okay.
So it's important. That didn't all need to be recorded, but whatever. People can turn it off. Okay. So if you can do it as, just a few, as quick as you can, I'd appreciate it.
So do you want me to just send it to you on an email?
Email or text, whatever works.
Okay, All right.
And yeah. And if it needs any, if you say, you know, if you want me to be like, I don't know, can you just check it? Feel, you know, let me know that if I can cut and paste it or whatever. But
Yeah.
normally I just put it on. But
Yeah.
there are mediums that not mediums. Anyway, there are pages that we put it on that have a certain character length, max. So sometimes I have to make it
Yeah.
the sentence shorter just to fit it in or whatever.
Okay,
I really appreciate it.
okay,
And I will keep you abreast, and you ladies that are going to be watching this later, about the group class. I will try to get those two other women, but if for some reason we can't, we might have to hold until we can get some more people, because
Yeah,
apparently
not-
I'm going to get divorced. Dale was not happy.
yeah, well,
Well, but I was like, so of course you knew. I told you weeks ago that Gail and then what her names aren't coming back. Who did you think was in the? Yeah. Anyway,
okay,
that's it. Okay, lovely, and I will see you. Well, I'll hear from you soon.
okay. All
Peace
right.
out. Love. Thank you.